It's time for the big conversations, telling stories of movers and shakers, of industry giants and daring professionals. It's time for the conversations that change your perspective on life. The kind of conversations that shape entrepreneurs and move careers forward. If you don't know where these conversations are found, we are sending you a GPS. But if you're listening to this voice right now, you are here. Welcome to the Growth Podcast. This is the GPS.
Welcome to number 58 of the Growth Podcast. We are continuing to have some interesting conversations with some very notable people. Last week we had an interesting conversation with Smooth IK. This week we are still keeping it in the media. But also I'd like to say thank you so much to the people that support the podcast. A few minutes ago, I know by the time it's airing it won't be a few minutes ago, but a few minutes ago I met a couple in Woodlands who are telling me, my husband likes a podcast. Happy, say hi. And the husband was in the car. He's like, hi, I like a podcast. So I think those are the kinds of people that really give us good feedback and they keep us moving, because there are days when you feel like, should we do this again? And then having those kinds of people ringing in the back of your mind really keeps us going. Like I said, last week we had someone in the media. It's like this is media season because we have another person also in the media. But the difference is these are two people at different extremes. And by different extremes, I don't mean like good and bad. No, I mean different extremes in terms of time. Smooth IK is still Smooth IK today, but he has been in the media for over 20 years. And my guest has been in the media not so long, but he has made quite some impact on his journey in journalism. I am talking about Jonah Buyoya Dingindava.
Yeah.
I said it correctly, right?
Dingindava Jonah Buyoya.
You're reminding me of the NAPSA thing where you go and get money. I said, no, but it says John Banda. I see you. No, you're not Banda John.
You're not Banda John. Yeah.
And Chakupita, just like that. But yeah, it's good to have you. How have you been?
I've been good. I've got a question.
Yeah.
Is this like a real hourglass?
Yes, this is hourglass.
Oh, okay.
You can see it moving, right?
No, you see, the thing is, I bought one and it would finish in like 20 minutes.
No.
So it was like supposed to be an hour.
This one is 1 hour.
hour.
I think this is 30 minutes. That must be 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're color coded, but you can see by the quantity of the sun in the hourglass.
Maybe it wasn't a problem with the hourglass. It was me. I thought it was an hourglass and it wasn't. Maybe.
Or maybe you just knew it was an hourglass for 1 hour and it's actually 20 minutes.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe one of those.
Yeah.
The thing I mentioned, where even you in your journey in journalism, where you feel like and you find people who really appreciate your work. Do you experience that?
Yes, I do. You see, the thing is, the kind of work that we do is very different from the kinds of work that other people do. You see, the kind of work that, a person that works in a bank, for example, has to do, you just have to make your boss happy. And that's okay, But yours and my kind of job is in the public eye. Like you do so there's two tiers to it. Yes, your boss needs to be happy with the work you're doing, but also the people watching. So you're being judged basically from all angles. This was a good job, this was a bad job, so that can be frustrating, and you constantly need to get something to motivate you. The same kind of motivation does get old at some point, because you can't just be motivated by the same thing over and over again. I mean, what if you achieve it? Yeah. And then what? So it's funny that you asked me that, because just last night I tweeted and I was like, something happened, and I was like, I think I just got my passion for journalism reignited, because for the past couple of weeks, maybe like 2 months, I've been feeling kind of flat. Yeah.
The thing you mentioned about our jobs being out there reminds me, during my ZNBC days, there was a time when we had, I think, about 3 or 2 people that died at ZNBC, and so they'd announce that people have died, and people were like, no, because ZNBC are maningi. But then someone said, no, but even at Zesco they die, but you don't know them. You get the point, eh?
Yeah.
God forbid people die on TV and say, no, because you know them, so we have to tell you that they died. There's no point telling Engineer Banda died. Look, who's Engineer Banda? Why does it matter to you? So being in the public eye is something on its own. But before I get into the nitty-gritties of the conversation, I want us to have some quick fire questions for you. Are you a calling or texting kind of person?
Definitely texting.
Or you don't like calls?
No.
Why? Why not?
I just find it really draining, and I feel like text messages are convenient. I can respond now, I can respond later. But the phone calls, it needs to be an emergency. Like phone calls, I feel like it's the kind of thing that you use when you need to ask for directions or you really need to get a hold of someone immediately. And you are wondering, if I text this person now, are they going to be able to respond? But I'm a text person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you good with directions?
Very good.
Very good with directions.
Yeah. I'm good at getting directions. I'm good at giving directions.
All right.
Yeah.
What was your last Google search?
My last Google search. What was my last Google search? Let me check. I think I can find it. Oh, number of persons living with albinism in Zambia.
Oh, you're doing a report on that?
Yes.
Okay. Was it inspired by the Netflix movie?
You can say that. Yes, actually, it was. It was inspired by that, but it was more also inspired by a story that I read about a young lady who had her hand. In fact, the story is on her. Her hand was cut off by ritualists, and exactly that was my reaction. I mean, I could feel my skin crawling with how ruthless human beings can be. Like, we're just good like this, but like what's going on in people's minds is really
so that guy was saying it's a whole different world.
True. It's a very sad story. Yeah.
Being in media, would you rather work very early in the morning or late at night?
That's the thing, I work both.
So you can start early morning and leave late night?
I always do that. Like, I get to work very early in the morning and I leave late in the evening. And then the middle of the day is very dormant. Flat. Yeah, like it's very, very flat. So I do a lot of work in the morning and then I work in a creative space. So it's you know what I mean. It's a very, a creative space is a very unique place where someone can be listening to music and then there's someone there singing or something. But there are times when you just need sort of to concentrate, and I've discovered that it's my 6 to 7:30, both 6 to 7:30 p.m. and then 7 to about 9 in the morning.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Where'd you grow up?
Two places, I can say that. I spent about 8 years of my life in Kabwe, and I spent 5 in Mazabuka and then in Lusaka.
Oh, so you speak Tonga?
I do, yeah.
Very well.
Yes.
Okay, but you don't look like you speak Nyanja.
I do. I speak Nyanja. I think, so on a daily basis, I speak Bemba and Nyanja, but I speak Tonga.
So how many languages do you speak? Can you do a flow? I mean, a flow.
Flow?
No. I mean, can you do a show, like, successfully? Like, can you do, like, a report in Tonga?
No.
It's not that deep.
No, I mean, I can have a fully fledged conversation in Tonga, but I feel like a report would be a bit too technical. Much. Yeah. I would need more time to translate it, but I can have a very normal conversation. Except now that I've been away for close to 10 years, I find people kind of saying my Tonga is now a bit rusty, because I was like, pretty young when I was learning Tonga. But that's the thing. So, okay, here's another backstory. I was born in Mazabuka. Well, not in Mazabuka. I was born in Choma, but, my family was in Mazabuka.
Mazabuka.
Yeah, Mazabuka. So I lived like 5 years there. And then my dad got transferred. So we moved to Kabwe. And so we lived there for 8 years and then went back. So it's like my hometown kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who do you before I ask my next question, your voice is very heavy. Have you thought about like just seriously commercializing? Well, when you say serious, yes. I mean, I do voiceovers here and there, but not as much as you would want me to do. Yeah. Who'd you grow up watching that really influenced you to go into journalism?
Robert Marawa.
The essay guy.
Yes. I find him really good at his craft. I feel like when you look around, right, he's a guy that commercialized sport. Because when you think about sport, you're thinking about the actual sport, right? And most times, if it's not radio and you bring it to TV, people just want to watch the game. Like, that's usually the case. Like, just put the game,
Wasting our time.
Yeah. But that guy managed to commercialize sport. He had a whole talk show, Thursday Night Live with Marawa. And it was on SuperSport. And, this was a fun sports show to watch. This is a guy that brings legends. Some of them I didn't know because, he's South African. So he'd be talking about South African footballers and all of that.
Kaiser Chiefs and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of those I don't know. And then he would bring, but here's the thing, he would bring music, and merge it. And it would always have it would always make sense why this artist is there. You see how Burna Boy performed at the World Cup. So he'll bring Burna Boy, but ask him about his experience performing at the World Cup. And he would ask, here's the thing, another thing, he would ask very deep questions because his thing is a lot about accountability, So when he has sports administrators, he would ask things that, you wouldn't think of. And he's always very brave to ask those tough questions that would make people uncomfortable, but are important questions to ask. So I've always thought about him as and he used to get a lot of money then. I don't know how much he gets now.
Yeah, he used to, because I think I saw him, I saw DJ Fresh on MacG's podcast, and he made reference to Marawa, and he said, look, the guy at the morning show on SABC has got some radio station, Metro, I think.
Metro FM, yeah.
Metro. And he said, we knew how much he got.
Yeah.
But we didn't complain. He says he got maybe like 10 times or
yes, like 300,000 rands apparently.
Yeah, what we were getting. And he brought the money.
Yeah.
But for someone who was inspired by sports guy, why aren't you so much into sport?
I've never been into sports. I used to run 100 meters when I was like 10. Then I just couldn't run anymore. I don't know. I think I also got... So here's the thing. I got more aligned to current affairs because, one, I was in the press club at my school. I was in the debate club. And also, I was just surrounded by a lot of people that were interested in current affairs. I'll tell you this. I remember... This is how interested I was in current affairs. When President Levi Mwanawasa died, I was so young. I was quite young. I was, I think, 11. And I was listening to radio. President Rupia Banda was making the announcement then. And he was explaining, he was quite emotional, And I'm the one that told my mom that President Mwanawasa has died. And that's a lot that used to happen, I would fill her in on what's going on in terms of news. But let me be honest, I never thought I should do that, Like, I was just interested in knowing what's going on. Not that I want to be a journalist or I'm excited to read the news. No. I just used to have an interest in knowing what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you watch Marawa, you've got this interest. When does it kick off?
It kicks off because my cousin... I'm working at an internet cafe. My cousin is so interested in the media. He wants to be a radio DJ. So he used to pick me up from work because now I was living in Lusaka at their home. I had just completed my grade 12. And during that holiday, my aunt is like, you could come and do something here. So I came over. So I'm working at this internet cafe. My cousin is very interested in media stuff. Every time I'm done with work, he picks me up. So this day he picks me up. He says, before we get home, let's pass through Findeko. I want to do an audition like him. So I was like, oh, at a radio station? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I've never been to a radio station. So let's go. I would like to see what happens there. We get there. We're at the reception. He goes in. He does his thing. And then the guy who was doing the auditions, his name was Trizo. Unfortunately, he died. He comes out. He's like... What about you? You're not going to audition? It's free. You're not going to be charged anything. Like, audition for what? He's like, we're going to give you a piece of paper and you read the news. Like, okay. So we get in there. This was like a Friday. We get in there. Gives me the paper. I
Wait.
read.
First of all, is also sad stories where your cousin didn't get it and you got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
That's what it is. So yeah, so I get in there, and then that was a Friday. Saturday, they call me around 15. They're like, we need you to come through tomorrow for another trial. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get there. It was so crazy because it was a small radio station and somebody had just left. So they didn't have someone to read the news. I'm there thinking I'm going on a trial. This lady, Cynthia, she was the editor. She's like, you are the new news anchor. Here's the script. Like, the new news, what? Yeah, so the news summary is at 15:15 and you just read these parts. And I go, I'm on air. Like, I didn't even get the chance to tell my family, like, no, listen and whatever. So I'm done with the news. I'm like, what's the story? Like, no, you come for work tomorrow, right? So I just sent my boss at the internet cafe a message.
It's over. I can't do this anymore.
I can't. I won't make it. And what's crazy is I didn't even know how much they're going to be paying me. And they were pretty much paying me the same amount.
At the internet cafe?
Yeah, as I was getting at the internet cafe, they were paying me the same amount, except very late. I have to say, that was a time. That was an interesting time. But yeah, but that's how I got into it. It was never intentional, really.
How did you break the news to your cousin?
I don't remember, actually. I don't remember, but I have to say he was really supportive, like it's almost like he was living his dream through me, He would always drop me off, and I used to get like those awkward shifts like on Sunday, and he'll be there, just because if there's no people, it's a Sunday, he can get the chance to get into the studio, and I'm there working, and he's just there. He was really, really, really enjoying it, I hope. But he was really supportive. He would remind me, we need to go, let's go, and we'd go. Even when it was really tough, like I'm only like 17 or whatever. So why am I working where they're not paying me for like 3 months? But you just be like, no, like just keep doing it. And yeah, we.
How long did you stay there?
I was there for a year.
For a year?
For a year, and a couple of months, because I started in 2014 and I left in 2015.
Okay.
I left in November 2015.
All right. Where did you go from there?
I went to QFM.
Okay.
It was one Saturday morning. So now I have moved. I'm no longer doing like the awkward shifts. They give me breakfast. I'm doing breakfast on a Saturday morning. And right after the show, so the show's 6 to 10, right after 10, I get a call from a guy called Nando. He was working in the production then. He's like, I was just listening to you right now. Come to QFM. Let's have a meeting. I get there and they just offered me a gig. Like they just offered me a gig just there. They're like, there's a TV station that's coming up and I think you can also make good TV. So you'll be reading news on radio and then you're going to be doing, you'll be reading news on radio and the same show that you're you'll be doing here on Saturday. I'm like, okay. And that's my horrible history with the short notice. Because they were also quite impatient. I think they had just gotten rid of someone also, I think. So it's like this coming week, you need to come through. So you need to start on Monday. But this time around, I was like, no. I can't. Because then, I had like developed a relationship with the channel. I said, no, I can't leave.
The inconvenience.
Yeah. So I have to give them notice. It was only 7 days notice. Not enough. I wouldn't do that now. But yeah, and I jumped on that opportunity. December 31st, we started QTV. And yeah, I think that was also a defining moment because then I just discovered that I can do TV. And I was literally the first face to appear on QTV when it opened because we did like an intro video.
They should have a statue of you outside.
True.
Yeah, like that Ferguson one at Manchester United.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah,
outside.
I did. I hope you're listening. The Nyamas. But yeah, so it was then. And I'll tell you, at that point, we really didn't see what we were doing. I was quite excited with the radio because QFM is a big radio station in Zambia. I mean, it's one of the household names when it comes to private radio. A lot of things have changed since they were at the top. I don't think they are still, but it's a very big brand. So imagine being associated with that, and also I used to listen to Roberto when he was on QFM, because it was like the fresh channel back in 2010 and somewhere there. So being there was exciting, and then we didn't really realize that this TV channel, has opened me up to something new. Slowly, I was disappearing on radio. Like I was slowly disappearing on radio. I was not having time to do it anymore. I was not getting the interest in just, this song now, 5 years ago on this day. Like I was getting kind of tired of that.
Yeah.
So TV was becoming more challenging for me and more interesting, the production process. And as you know, TV takes a lot of time, really. So
The radio can just walk in and,
yeah,
play
yeah,
5 songs,
yeah.
figure out what to say next. Television is more complex.
Yeah. So when I started getting a grip of TV, and also QTV was broadcasting on this platform, I don't know what it's called, but they also had their own box, and then it was on Zuku. Not very popular pay TV channels, both the QTV box and the other one. So we were even joking that we were broadcasting. And then they jumped onto Go TV. And then suddenly, you would be at this place and someone is like, no, I've seen you before, and you're like, oh, okay, interesting. And then the next person and the next person. And I guess that Go TV is what led to Diamond TV, effectively. Yeah.
Was it also like a short notice thing?
It was, but I didn't take it. I didn't take that short notice. I was much older now, and I knew how things worked. But it was a short notice because it was a Wednesday evening. I was with 2 of my friends. They were my colleagues, actually. We were working together, Rhoda and
Mulenga,
George.
yeah.
Yes, Rhoda Mlinga and George. And I got a call. It was from Costa Masa. I had never talked to him. In fact, interesting thing is, I had actually never even watched him because remember, I'm a Kabwe and Mazabuka guy, and he was on Movie TV. Movie TV was a Lusaka thing.
TV station.
Yeah, it was a Lusaka in Livingstone. So cause I know about him, I know him, but I never watched him. So he calls me, but I know he's a big deal, He's like, there's a project I'm working on. At that point, it didn't even occur to me that it was a TV channel. Because he says, there's a project I'm working on and I would like for us to work together. I'm like, okay, so let's meet this Friday. And then I get there. So after the call, I tell George. Then he's like, yeah, you were Costa. I'm like, yeah, he just called me just now. He's like, yeah, I heard that they are starting a TV channel. I kid you not. It was not, like I wasn't even going to consider his TV channel offer. Like, what the hell? There's a channel that's about to start. So I meet them on Friday, and these people are having a job interview with me. I get in there, he's sitting with the general manager and Francesca Piribanda, she was the head of news. In fact, she's the first person I met. And she's like, yeah, no, let's go to Costa's office. Okay. Get there, there are people sitting. It's a job interview panel. And he's like, so how much do you want? How much do I want? I was just throwing figures. I actually I said the figure less than what
what you're getting at the time.
No, but it's also because I really wasn't going to get that. I wasn't going to take the job, because I was pretty happy with the job I was doing. There was a lot of responsibility coming my way, a lot of confidence from the leadership in the organization. I loved it there. So after that, I don't know what happened in my mind. I'm getting out and I find Ambassador Frank Mtuida outside. He's parking his Kamamini Cooper. He's getting out.
Yeah, that one.
He didn't even say hi. He's just going. And then I get inside there. So Costa goes like, let me show you something. He takes me to his production room, and he played the promos because the channel was not on air yet. He says, so this is some of the stuff that we're working on. And I looked at the stuff. I'm like, this is not what we're working on. Like the guys were so good, man. Like, that then the face of Diamond was Mwakam Gala. She was the face, of news and everything. Even if they had not started, that was their plan, really.
Yeah.
And I look at her; she's very well spoken, and she's got this. I don't know, just that next level kind of thing.
International.
Yeah. And then the next one, and then the next one. And I don't know these people, all of them, but they're just like really good. And it just felt challenging for me. I'm like, I need to be a part of this team. I need to be a part of something like this. That's how my mind just switched in that moment. And I went back and I told my friends at Q, I'm like, so I was then it was Diamond TV that just changed from Platinum. The initial name they wanted was Platinum TV. But apparently it was taken, thank God, it was taken by something else at Pakra. Yeah, so they went with Diamond TV. So I tell them, and everyone was just like, are you crazy? Like it hasn't even started. It's not started. If you don't know, the thing about TV and media is that never make the mistake of joining a new media house because they're not going to be paying you. That's you just need to know that. I'm like, okay. I heard them all right. And I wasn't, not getting paid was nothing strange to me because I just, came from
that.
Yeah. And I wasn't willing to go to that. But I weighed my options, really. I looked at how much I was about to learn from this team. The QTV team was very small. It was very small. We were like 4 or 5 of us. 4 or 5 of us, really, presenters. And then I looked at this catalog of like 10, 15 people presenting on this channel. I'm like, you know what? This is a lot more challenging. So I picked it up because I told Costa I need like 2 weeks to think. And he said, no, 7 days. I said, cool. 7 days later, I got in touch, this time with Francesca. I'm like, I'll take it. I'll come and join you guys. And I resigned from QFM. I gave them enough notice, just for the record. And that's how I joined. Diamond TV. We worked for about 2 months before we went on air. We were just working in the background. And yeah, eventually we went on air. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, you've built a name at Diamond TV. I think more people know you from there than from your previous experience in other media houses. Then was the catapulting to the BBC, and I'd like to spend more time on that because I feel like that is the cream on the icing. How did that happen? The Komla Dumor Award.
The Komla Dumor Award has been, I would say, has been in the making for a very long time. I never acted on it, but I knew that I wanted it, right? From the time I knew about it, imagine I knew all the winners, I knew everybody. I knew because I was a fan of Komla Dumor, I used to follow him and my mom more. She just used to watch and she's like, this gentleman, the way he does things, But I knew more about him after he died, He's died a sudden death. I'm like, and the way the BBC was reporting this story when he died in 2014, they kept saying at a young age, he died suddenly at a young age. And I was like, but what happened, really? And then I discovered he had like a heart complication, and every time now I'm going through his stuff, and there was this package. I'll tell you, I've watched it maybe 50 times. He was covering a football match. I think it was a World Cup in South Africa, and Ghana was playing. And so at the end of his package, so he's standing like there's a crowd, and then he goes like, now I'm gonna. So he's concluding his package. So now I'm gonna take off my BBC hat, and I am now going to be a Black Stars fan. He was wearing a shirt, and then he takes off the shirt, and inside there's a Ghana jersey. And I don't know, but I just thought that was really cool, And I would watch his news packages and his news interviews. This is a guy doing news, but with a lot of attitude, there's something you can like about him. So when the award was announced, at first I didn't think I was ever going to get interested, but the more they did it, I'm like, this is really, and it also felt a lot like the epitome of African journalism, because there's countries that have developed in terms of media, like Kenya, South Africa.
Yeah.
But a lot of us are still just budding under there, growing. So, and that's the thing about the award. It was associated, maybe South Africa hasn't won it yet, but it was associated a lot with those countries. Uganda, strong media system they have there, very, very strong journalism. Kenya. So I'm like, okay, this is getting more and more interesting. And then I think what gave me more confidence this time around to actually enter, because I'd never entered before, was the 2021 election, because I feel like we did a pretty good job with that election coverage. But also, it introduced a lot. It introduced us as a team to a lot of other people that didn't know that there was a team of people that are doing this. So when they opened the entries for the Komla Dumor Award, I got a lot of tags on that BBC account and a lot of inbox links, people saying that. But I didn't act on any of them. I acted on one from a friend of mine, Zumani, you know him.
Yeah.
He sent me the link. He's like, he calls me DJB. DJB, I think you need to do this. And I said, I would love to, but I don't know. I just don't feel...
You didn't see the angle.
Yeah, like exactly. I didn't see and that's the right word. I didn't see the angle. At that time, I'm like, But he insisted. He said, and these were his exact words. I mean, so what are you going to lose if you try? If you don't win it, just try again next year or whenever you feel ready. And I started writing that application. I wrote it. It's pretty rigorous, to be honest. And it was quite draining. You write and they say not less than 500 words, and you write, and that's just one question. You write 4 questions, and then you click next thinking it's wrapped up, and then there's another thing, just trying to get your thought process. So I wrote it for a good 3 weeks. I was just writing whenever I get the chance. I write, save, write, save. And then I submitted it. But when I submitted it, I was like, whatever, man. After some time, I got an email. And the email said, you've made it to the next round of the selection process for the BBC Komla Dumor Award. At this point, you need to submit some of your work. I didn't know my colleague, Amina Kaunda, had gotten the same email because she had also entered. And before I knew it, because I saw it, and I will tell you this, I was never gonna say that I entered for this award. Because first of all, I was skeptical and everything. Then the next thing, she had posted that she had made it to the next round. She had a whole press statement. And I posted in the management group, because I'm part of management at Diamond. I posted in the management group. I'm like, so it's actually 2 people from Diamond TV that have gotten this. He's like, what? My boss like, what? I'm like, yeah, I also made it to the next round. He's like, but why are we not posting about it? I was like, I was really just trying to keep this under the wraps, But he was like, no, it's good for the company profile and all that. So then we published that. That was also quite draining, actually, because Amina had posted it earlier in the day. She posted it earlier in the day, and it was actually a pretty big thing online when she made the announcement that she's moved to the next stage. So when my announcement was made later in the day, there was a huge debate in one of the journalist WhatsApp groups. No, it's not him, it's her who has been nominated. And there's this one specific one who was like, there's no way that they can pick 2 people from Zambia to go to the next round. So it was a whole thing. And then I told my boss, I'm like, this is what I didn't want. Yeah. So after that, we submitted the works. And then after a couple of weeks, I got a further email, which was now scheduling for an interview. And I was talking to renowned African journalists, 2 from the continent And one she wasn't an African journalist. She's one of the editors for the BBC, and then the head of Africa BBC. So after that interview, I actually told my friend, I was like, I think we've lost this. Because imagine the first question they asked me in that interview was, imagine, so this guy is like, Jonah, do you feel like you're a good communicator? I said, I think so. I think so. He says, okay. Imagine you are talking to somebody that's blind and they've never seen before. How would you describe the color yellow? Oh my goodness. Dude, I was preparing questions about conflict in Africa. You know,
the war in Iraq.
Exactly. What do you mean?
South Sudan.
What do you mean I describe the color yellow to someone who's never seen before? And I kept thinking in my mind, everything I'm going to say is something for you to relate. You need to have seen something, you know.
Before.
So I said, when you close your eyes, when you close your eyes and you look at the sun with your eyes closed, what do you see? Then he's like, yeah, I see something. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what yellow looks like. He's like, yeah, but I've never seen before, Jonah. I'm like, okay. I think that it's a color that's very soothing and it's mellow. And I said things like that. He's like, there we go. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's more like it. That's more like it. Then we get into the serious stuff now. You know, they are asking me what I think about geopolitical issues. Some of those, imagine I had prepared for this interview so much that I didn't have time to check what was in the news that day. So I am so prepared to give, editorial commentary, but I just missed checking like the BBC page, the Al Jazeera page, ENC. So in that moment, I'm blank with what's happening in Africa today. And they asked me, so what are the top stories in Africa today? I thought about, but the goodness, as you know, with news is it doesn't change.
It's instantly. A cycle. Like it's gradual.
Exactly. So I picked the stories from the previous day. One of the big stories that time was the elephant poaching in Kenya. So I spoke about that, and I spoke about it, in some sort of detail to buy time, because I'm like, I don't have anything else to say.
I have. Let me maximize on this.
Yes, and then I said, the continent continues building up to William Ruto's
inauguration
bid for presidency. No, he had just announced his running mate. I said, so William Ruto announced his running mate. Raila Odinga also just announced his running mate. And I'm there balancing, like I know these things, guys. I'm like, okay. And then they asked me about this strange story that I'd only read about once. It's about the Uyghurs in China. And they asked me, and I really just nibbled on what I knew. And then after that, it was more about my opinions on issues, and then I had to do a correspondence. So they get a guy who's like in studio, and I'm a guy that was doing the same Uyghur thing in China. And they say, you have 10 minutes. They send me a script and data about that. You have 10 minutes to just go through this, and then you're going on air. So the guy starts, so Dingy Ndaba is in China, blah, 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 blah. So what's the situation? So I speak based on what I read. Why is this a complex issue? I explained based on what I knew and what I read. And then after that, they're like, okay, that's it. And I just wasn't confident, at that time, because
there's some interviews you feel like this one.
Yeah.
Even if they have someone, they'll change their mind.
True.
That was not it.
And I know how competitive this thing is, Sorry. Because when I look around and look at the people that have won it, these are solid journalists, who have a proper thought process, proper opinions on issues. And that's why I'm saying our industry in Zambia is still growing, because it's very difficult for you as a media personality, as a journalist, to actually have an opinion on issues, because you are actually going to get backlash. So those are the people.
Just read the news.
Yeah, just read the news. You also, yeah. So those are the people I'm comparing myself with. After that, I'm like, I think you can't tell me in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Kenya, in South Africa, there's no one who's done better in that. And yeah, after that, I forgot about it. That was April. Because they expressly said in that interview, they said, we're only going to get in touch with you if you've won. At least, yeah. If you've been shortlisted further. Yeah, you're right. So after this stage, if you don't hear from us, then unfortunately...
It's not us, it's you.
Yeah. So I forgot about it. This is April, man. I forget about it. May, there's zilch, nothing. I'm getting nothing. I'm like, okay, I guess we have to try again next year. June, I was actually in Germany that June for the Global Media Forum. And I got an email. I won't lie, when I got the email, I got the email while I was here, but I was traveling to Germany. So I did the final interview in Germany. So I get the email. I won't lie, I screamed. Because when I saw the email, I knew that this is the final step and we just won this award. I knew because I followed that award so closely. And I know that when they're doing that final interview, they never tell you that it's trick. So I was like, yes! So they scheduled for the interview. The following week, I was traveling to Germany. So I'm in Germany and I'm at the Global Media Forum. In the middle of a panel discussion, I went upstairs and I opened my laptop and she didn't even waste time, I just opened, hi, okay, the other judges are not here. I need to record this. She records, I'm pleased to inform you. I was like, oh my goodness. But you can't tell anyone. This is June, by the way, because this award was only announced in August. You can't tell anyone apart from your mother and your workplace, because you're going to need, to transition for the period that you're going to be away. Yeah. So, and I was with my boss, by the way, in Germany. So I go outside, I come back, I'm so chill, the session is going and everything. Then I go like, you remember that? You remember that Komla Dumor one? Yeah, the one you. I said, yeah. They just told me that I won it. He said, what? I said, yeah. They just told me. Well, why are you so chill about it? I'm like, I won't lie to you. I think I knew about this win 2 weeks ago because of that. So I was excited, yes, but I kind of, it was a bit of odd news for me at that point. But so he was very excited. We even cut short our participation in the panel discussion. So we went outside. And I came back. I had to hold this in for months, because that was 22nd June. The whole of July, we were just working on, we started working on visa issues in the background to apply for visa and booking flights and accommodation and all those things until it was announced.
You never had that? Let me just break the news. What if I die?
To be honest, I started breaking it to people close to me.
No one leaked it?
No, none of them leaked it. There were just like 5 people. I'll tell them and okay, I wouldn't expressly say it, but I would leave hints here and there, like, something big is about to happen, blah, those kinds of things. And I could tell that they know what I'm talking about. But yeah, because my mom didn't really know what it was anyway. So I wasn't worried about her, because even when I told her, she really didn't know, but she only realized how big it was when it was announced and how much of a frenzy it caused. So then she's like, but even then, you know how moms are. She was happy, but she really is like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I'm happy
just
for
happy.
you. I'm happy for you. But yeah. So until it was announced in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you got to the BBC, how was your experience there?
So I arrived in London on Saturday, 5 p.m. somewhere there. So obviously no work on Sunday.
Aaron Hazel has picked you up at the airport.
No. I actually never got a chance to meet him.
You never met him?
No.
How?
I just never got a chance to meet him. I don't know because I met most of those guys. I just never met him.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's strange.
never met him. I used to watch him a lot when I'm in the building, but a lot of the times he would be doing his show and he's not there. Like he's somewhere else doing the show from somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
So I never got a chance to meet him. I even got a chance to meet Steven Saka, but not Hazelhurst. But yeah, so I arrived on a Saturday around 5 p.m. So no work on Sunday. But I was so eager
For Monday.
Yes, for Monday that I Google searched and I found where the BBC broadcasting house was, and I went there on Sunday. Like before I even got my pass and everything, I just went there and I reached the building. I'm like, oh, and it was quite far actually from where I was. It was like, and I was walking because it's a very walkable city. So it was like an hour. And I got there. I didn't know. Also, it was exciting to see a lot of things,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
new
also.
place. So I wasn't noticing how far I was
It was,
going.
yeah.
I get there. I'm like, Popo days up. Okay, cool. I took some pictures, blah, blah, blah. Went back. And my supervisor was to pick me up in the morning the following day because according to her, this is a new guy, doesn't
That's
know.
the guy is already at the reception.
So she comes, picks me up in the morning, and she's running me through. So we go this way, we get into the
That's
train
wrong
and
with
everything. Tafika. She's like, so this is the BBC. I said, I know. She's like, what do you mean? I was here yesterday. Oh, so why did I have to come and pick you up then? You should have. I'm like, no. I knew where it was, but I didn't know about the transport system and how it works. So I needed orientation with that. So get in there. The first day was a bit too busy for me to
Take it in.
to take it in. Here's the new guy who's just won this big award in there, and he's from Africa. Everybody's trying to get to know him. Everybody's
African
trying.
guy. Want to see your spear.
Yes. It's everyone coming to say hi and orientation. I have to get my desk. I have to get my passes. I have to get my IDs and all those things. So day one was really. It went by real quick. Day two, I'm getting there on my own. I just have to go straight to my desk and I'm getting to work. Then I'm like, what? Is this actually real? I just get there. I just get to the door. I just put my pass. Can you imagine that? Like, what? I don't need somebody to help me, just me. I get there. And I mean, it's a huge establishment. You get 4,000 people working in there every day. So there are people you'll meet that you'll never meet ever again. But I get there and the security guy remembers. He's like, it's the guy. Yeah. And most of the security there are like Nigerian or Ghanaian or something. So they see something in common.
Yeah. One of us.
Yeah, one of us. So I get there and I'm at my desk. And I look at the pass, it's got my face, it's got my name, and it says BBC reporter. And, there's a lady that comes, she's got like a piece of paper, it's got my email, my work email, and my password. And now I'm taking it all in. I'm like, what? This is happening? And I'm just there, I receive an email. We've got a production meeting for Focus on Africa at, I think it was 11, because of their time change. So it was at some point at 9 and then at another time at 11. I get to the desk. Nobody's treating me like I'm a newbie, I just get a briefing and this one. And, the editor runs through this. So, Jonah, you're going to work on this story. Okay. And it was a really, I learned a lot, to be honest. I learned a lot about the workplace because it was, unlike a typical workplace I'm used to, they give me this task, and maybe because I was the Komla Dumor winner, but after the show, we sit for a post-production meeting, and they're like, Jonah, just TX this first story, and everybody's applauding, they're happy for you. It was really motivating, and there was a lot to learn with how fast-paced everything is. It wasn't much of a challenge, the fast-pacedness, because first of all, we are 15, 20 people working on this show back home.
You are alone.
So I can handle the pressure, but I was still excited. And it gave me a lot of power, to be honest, because I pick up a phone, I'm calling someone from London and I'm calling someone in Sierra Leone. They've never heard of me, I call this person, I'm like, oh, my name is Dingendava, I'm calling you from the BBC in London and would like to feature you. They're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, wow, I call somebody in the US to comment on an issue because it's the BBC, they don't even care who it is. Yeah, they probably don't even remember the name, but just that, and I tell the person in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to call you, I'll do the interview with you. They're like, yes.
Those guys are not scammed because here in Zambia, it was happening.
You know what I mean? Ish.
In Zambia, man, my abductor.
I mean, it was a lot to learn. And, although it was a lot of, it was a bit overwhelming for me also because, unlike everybody that works in there, people work on the same team for the rest of their life. But because I've only got 13 weeks to work there, effectively 10 weeks because I had to spend some weeks outside of the UK, hence me being in Seychelles. But every week I'm on a new team. So that's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah,
by Wednesday, Thursday, you are familiarizing and you make
just on
some friends. You settle. Next week, you are on this team. So that started taking a toll on me, because every week I need to start afresh, basically. But I knew why I was there. So I had to do what had to be done.
There's a lot of hype around your first presentation, Focus on Africa. How was that behind the scenes? What do you have to go through before you actually sit behind that desk?
Because of the fact that they are quite alive to the person they've brought, they've seen, because I had to submit some of my work. So it really wasn't, it was never a this is how you present kind of thing. It was more, this is how we produce, because as a presenter, you have to be part of the production process. You're not the one producing, but ultimately, everyone submits their tiny scripts to you, and then you rewrite to suit how you speak, because you're also a journalist. So when they send, as a lack of better term, you are the grammar editor for each bulletin that you do. So how many producers are there, send their drafts, and then you change them to how you speak.
Yeah.
So that was what I was being run through, and I had Lukwesa on my side. The odds were really on my side because, one, I feel like it was also very accomplishing for her, because he's a Zambian, and she was really in it, she was there guiding me and helping me. I didn't feel that hype that happened that day because I was offline. I don't know. I just also felt like I needed to be in a space where let me just focus on this job. And I was offline a week.
No, that was good because some Zambians were just a comment, and they swept off, just mentally disturbed.
Exactly. I mean, I saw some of those comments. Some of those comments were before when the award was just announced. Some of the comments were a lot about the age, and that was a bit annoying. And the others were, there's this one I used to see a number of times. So why are Zambians celebrating that someone is leaving? Is going to work somewhere else and to contribute to the development of another country. Why is that? So that was, but I didn't see that hype because I was offline for like a week until that day. That day passed. The person that told me the hype was Lukwesa, because I was doing that broadcast and she was standing like there because after COVID, they don't have cameramen. So it's just automated stuff.
Yeah.
So she was the only other person. There was my floor manager and her. So she was just there, watching. And every time there's a clip, she's like, every time we take a break, she's like, yeah. And then after the show was done, she's like, you have no idea what the ratings look like at the moment for BBC. I think it's the most watched thing in Zambia in the past hour. She starts showing me the tweets. I was like, wow, this is really nice. But I still didn't go back online that day because I had another bulletin the following day, and then the day after, then I traveled, and then I came back and I did other bulletins. Some of them were actually not watched here. Some of the bulletins I did. One was overshadowed by Nancy Pelosi. She was resigning. So I was broadcasting to they call them partner channels. Like, you see how we take like Focus on Africa and everything. Yeah, so it wasn't like on BBC. So yeah, I did quite a number actually. I think there were like 8 of those. Bulletins. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your relationship like with the BBC now?
I do stories for them. A lot has happened since then. And if I have a story idea, I reach out and let them know. If they need content from here, then they'll reach out and let me know. Sometimes I've even valued sharing my opinion more on issues, especially on Twitter, because I feel like that's a very intimate place that allows me to engage with other people's opinions.
Yeah, that's why the woke Zambians are those who want,
not just Zambians. I feel like it's because Twitter doesn't have so many users. It's like a global village, like you can see things happening in Nigeria and just inbox. You see, it's very difficult to get a hold of. I think it's very difficult to get a hold of a minister in Zimbabwe on Facebook because there's probably 100,000 people
asking for jobs.
Exactly. But on Twitter, you inbox and they'll get it. So it's a very useful resource for journalism to get access to sources, but also get access to information. So I share a lot of opinions there, and a lot of times, they'll see an opinion that I've shared and they're like, "Can you do a story on this?"
Okay. There are a lot of young people that want to go into journalism. Would you say journalism is financially rewarding?
I think that getting into it for the money would be frustrating. It would be really frustrating because it takes a lot. You see, the job itself doesn't pay you a lot of money. I think what happens in the process of you establishing yourself and the things that you've done, the things that have attached to your name, are sort of the things that begin to make your earnings. But otherwise, there's very, very few media institutions, at least in Zambia. Because honestly speaking, media in Zambia is only getting the semblance of a functioning system, right? It's only now, and from any angle you look at media, from music, that's where we are now also. The same progress that music is making is the same progress that journalism is making, and not at the broader perspective of journalism. Very few media houses. So getting into it because of the money would be really frustrating.
You see this hourglass is real,
Yeah.
So
it is.
Check your time.
So
it says like an hour now, right?
Yes.
So
Wow.
this hourglass is real. We're almost done, by the way. You've interviewed a lot of politicians. Who's your favorite politician to interview?
My favorite politician one of my favorite interviews that I've had was with Elias Chipimo. I had a really good interview with him. I love interviewing. Who else? I mean, there's a lot of them. I don't know if he is, of course he is, the Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
We've had very technical discussions. So I've never really gotten that political side of him because that's also a different ball game altogether. Because you have to forego certain realities. I don't know, when talking politics to politicians, they're in their own world. And sometimes it's like a facade, right? So you can be discussing real issues and someone is not discussing real issues. But yeah, I enjoyed the last Tupimo. Yeah.
Do you ever get nervous?
I do.
What causes that?
Because political interviews have a lot of pressure. There's, for me, what makes it very difficult is because I know that the person I'm hosting at one point or the other is just going to be lying. And it's very difficult for me to, of course, I try my level best to make them not lie, but I just know that they're going to start lying. And they stick by their lies.
There's this thing in Zambia that journalists or interviewers want to outshine their guest.
It's not, I wouldn't say it's untrue, because I feel like even I've sort of over the last few months changed my style of interview. But I think that the thing about lying is so true, and how bad it is that they are not the only ones in on the lie. Like even their supporters believe they are lying, you know. So you have a complex issue because now you need to prove that I'm not just arguing with you. You know, you are lying, and the reason you are lying is because of this. But in the process, I guess we get lost in translation, and it takes a lot to master that technique.
As a young journalist, do you have like vets that you sit down with and want to tap from their wisdom?
I learn more by observing people. That's one of my attributes. I don't know, but I really find it difficult to ask because I don't like overwhelming people. So I look at how somebody does something and I wonder within myself, how could he possibly know that, you know? And then I will try to do my own research. When an opportunity presents itself, I will ask, because there are certain scenarios where maybe you, I don't know, have a chance to sit down with somebody, you meet somewhere, and they seem to open themselves up to that kind of a discussion. I'll push in a question or two. And I say this because I also know that it can be quite overwhelming, even on my end, for so many people to be asking the same thing, basically. So I put myself in those people's shoes as well, you know. So, and some of the questions that we want answers to as people are very complex questions. Like a question like, what motivates you? Like, you know, like, so how I struggle to answer that question is how I imagine it must be complex for people, because sometimes people are still discovering themselves along the way.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You're still discovering yourself.
Actually, I am. It's one thing I always say, even when somebody is asking for my advice, I say I'm actually still discovering myself. But I'll tell you this, I think that my passion for journalism has never been stronger. In 10 years, I want to do stories as impactful as the stories Christiana Manpo has done. Stories that change a narrative. Stories that could potentially get you a Nobel Peace Prize. Stories that add context to society. Like after watching a story and you're like, oh, so that's why this is happening. You know, and that's why it has to happen from 10 years from now, because a lot of work has to go into it.
A lot of people in the private media want to come to ZNBC. Is there something to think about?
No.
You feel like government is too rigid?
Yes. I'm not shy to say that.
Because the reason I ask is because I've seen that. And for a lot of them, I think that most people left movie TV,
yes,
mostly private stations, and they come there. And that's why I asked why, because it actually doesn't. The opposite rarely happens. It rarely happens that they leave for private media. No,
I mean, I feel like also the other reality of it that people don't know. You know that people have a lot of complaints for ZNBC, and for some reason they think that ZNBC just doesn't have the human capital, which is a huge myth that people don't know. because some of the country's best media minds are there. Like but they are not oblivious to the things you talk about, and that's why it's important for us to talk about those reforms. Need to happen at an institution like that, because you are sitting on brilliant minds, but they get sucked up in a system, and the system may not even be deliberate. Like, the system may not be deliberate. It's just systematic. That when you, for example, you see how it is here in Zambia, you can't walk in Cairo Road without a shirt on, right?
Yeah.
But you go to an island nation and you're seeing people walking in the middle of the town without a shirt on, and it stops being awkward for you. Like, even you can take off your shirt and you start walking. Similarly, it might just be the way the system is, that you just get there and you notice how things are done, and no one has ever told you, no, you don't do this and that, but you just start doing things the way the system allows. And that's why I feel there's a need for a reform. And if there's a deliberate reform that is being done, that has to be commended, because people need to flourish.
All right. I hope you won't go to the NBC for an interview and they just play back that clip. Just play.
Well, for me to go there for an interview, then there should have been a reform.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you, Jonah. My last question. What 5 things would you like to say to younger people than you who would like to build a career in journalism?
The first thing is you just need to be in the know. And that's you need to read a lot. I need to change that, because I don't like telling people to read a lot anymore. You just need to be informed. And I say this because I'm now getting accustomed to the fact that some people are just not readers. They don't like reading. So whatever gets you informed, get informed. The next thing is, it might sound cliche, but you need to get that fire burning, like the passion. You need to get it burning, because without it, you're just going to be any other journalist. Just any other journalist. Because you can teach somebody to be a journalist, a good one at that, but you can't teach somebody to be a passionate one. The third thing, I'm saying 5 things.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can say this, but keep discovering yourself. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Keep discovering yourself. There are things that you know about yourself. There are things that help you do your work, but there are things you don't know about yourself that are actually very useful. And you keep discovering yourself by interacting with more people alike, who are like you, or maybe not, but keep discovering yourself. The fourth thing you've probably heard a million times, but I think that it defines people that make it and that don't, to be disciplined. And discipline comes in different forms. So, but I personally feel the best discipline that will come your way is to do the work for the things you want to achieve, because generally as young people, I don't know where it comes from, but we just feel like we don't have a lot of time. And so because we feel like we don't have a lot of time, we don't have the time to put in that hard work, right? Like, you want that result, but not to be associated. Yeah. So be disciplined enough to achieve what you want to achieve and work through that process. The final thing is personally something that I've come to believe in and I've come to live, that no dream is too big. Just do it. And there's a reason why you feel like you can achieve that thing that you want to achieve. So just do it. The narrative needs to be that the world has only one standard.
Thank you very much, Jonah. It was a pleasure hosting you.
It was so much fun. I can confirm that I am not an introvert.
and you're a good storyteller.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can just
okay.
listen. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, that's when you're growing up, who would watch a movie?
Yeah.
Shimika the movie for you, and they do it so well. You go and Shimika the movie like you also watched it.
Like you watched it. Yeah. Okay.
Good storyteller, but I'm sure it comes with the art.
It does.
Yeah, it comes with the art because you have to tell stories really. And it was good having you. You're a good sport.
It was so much fun. It was
I mean, keep
actually
doing
so
what
much
you're doing. I feel like there are no limits. For someone who's stepped into the BBC, I think you have a different mindset compared to other journalists who have only practiced their craft here, because now you know to say, look, if I can go there, I can also go there. If I can go there, out of stage, you can go to DW, but you can't speak German. So like that's out. But don't rule it out. Maybe they want to...
DW speaks English also.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, you with GW, with the France 24, you with
Yeah,
CNNs. I feel like it's limitless, really. It's limitless.
True.
And stories like yours, it's like a Patson Daka. Look at Patson Daka. Now parents are having their kids go for training and end up Kubasa Academy, because they know now that is a way out. Those days it would be they'll beat you, come home. Because I saw this thing where it said most parents, if their kid is good at playing tennis but bad in mathematics, they'll go and find a math tutor instead of going to find a tutor for tennis and say, this guy is good, let's invest in that.
Yeah.
So I feel like people like you are really turning the tide, so that we have more people appreciate the arts, appreciate, careers like journalism, which those days say, no, but Jonah and I in the UK. Then, okay, you can also go. You know? So but keep doing what you're doing, man, and do the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, man.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.